sport has the power to change the world.
New ambassadors, the best football 11 to play the game, and a road trip changing lives. Yes, it's all in the latest installment of the Power Sport podcast. Brought to you by Laureus South Africa with myself, Jean Smythe, as your host. So we strapped the surfboards to the roof and road trip through the Eastern Cape with Waves for Change, finding out about their latest project, but also meeting some of the world's best surfers.
It's amazing just to be around the kids and see the positive impact that surfing's having on them.
Our Blitz feature takes a break for this episode, but we have something very special lined up in that space in the future. So I have a challenge for you. It's to name your best football 11 of all time. Here's Bafana midfielder Dean Furman, who will reveal all in this episode.
In goal, I've gone for Buffon, incredible goalkeeper and just an unbelievable career.
And we track down, rather aptly, a power woman of sport. Lynn Naude is a major force on both the domestic and international stages, and in a wide-ranging interview she tells us what she's up to, the status of the industry, and we take her all the way back to find out just what inspired her.
I think for me, the first, the trigger for me to get involved in the sporting industry was actually Jerry Maguire, and I watched Jerry Maguire and I wanted to be Jerry Maguire.
You're listening to The Power of Sport. Find us on iTunes, Omni Radio, Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Welcome to the show. Well, with 2017 hurtling towards its conclusion and 2018 now firmly on the horizon, the Laureus family's been as busy as ever and has now welcomed a new ambassador to the stable. At the launch of the Waves for Change site in East London in July, the former Springbok captain Corne Krige made his debut again as he was involved with the Rebecca handover to the coaches, as well as having Chairman Morne du Plessis on hand to present him with his certificate of recognition. Two Springbok greats in their own right, uncompromising on the field, but as Corne outlines, an opportunity now to give back.
Yes, obviously it's a massive honor for me to be a Laureus Ambassador, and with that massive honor comes some responsibility. Laureus is an incredible foundation and they have some amazing charities, and obviously I'd love to add to that and really try and do my bit to help the children, especially in South Africa, and look after the kids here and share some of my lessons that sport has taught me over many, many years, and hopefully make a real difference in their lives.
This year, again, a series of sporting-themed breakfasts around the country have continued and been a great success. Held at various Mercedes dealerships, it's an opportunity for clients and stakeholders to not only find out more about the Laureus Foundation and the automotive giant's partnership with them, but also to glean unique sporting insights from some of the most prominent names in the game. Ahead of Golf's Open Championship, we were in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as having important panel discussions about women in sport. And then as the new football season kicked off, we hosted the likes of the former Bafana coach and a man who's won 4 PSL titles, Corne Krige, the interim coach of Banyana, Desiree Ellis, Dean Furman of SuperSport United in South Africa, as well as Banyana star Amanda Dlamini. It was the first breakfast for Furman, who's been a revelation at club level and also internationally since Egerson discovered him playing for Oldham Athletic in England.
I think there's a feeling of excitement. There's a feeling of, certainly on the last camp I was involved in Nigeria, the whole week was one of the best weeks that I've been involved in with Bafana. We were singing on the bus. The spirits were high. The training was fun but serious when it needed to be. And I think that culminated in our performance, which was one of the best that I've been involved in with the national team and the results. So I think going forward, we know that we're going into a great environment. We're going into a setup that is structured for us to really peak our performance when the time is right, and we're all fighting for positions, so there's no guarantee to who's going to be in the squad. There's an incredible amount of players who are pushing, and it's going to make Coach Stewart's job of selecting the team very difficult, but we're in a wonderful position, and we have to capitalise on that. And we know we've got 2 tough games coming up against Cape Verde, but they are bottom of the group, and for us, we're looking to take maximum points from these 2 games.
A major news from within Team Dimension data for Rebecca, the focus of our special episode on their journey at the Tour de France. Since the conclusion of that race, Louis Meintjes, who finished 8th for a consecutive year, will now return to race for Africa's team in 2018. That is part of the team's stated ambition to win the tour and, of course, continue to provide a platform for the Qhubeka charity.
Winning is definitely the dream, and but just also to give it my best. I mean, there's always other competitors, and your result kind of depends more on how quickly the other guy goes as to how quick you go. So South Africa has arrived at world cycling. Together with Dimensions alltime, Daryl and myself, and also the other riders. I mean, they're going to races, and not just the Tour de France, other races, being real contenders and playing real important factors in races. So it's not like we arrive at races just to say that Africa is represented at the race or something like that. We're going there as real contenders, and I think it'll change even more in the years to come, because it looks like there's quite a few young guys coming through.
Pick your best 11 football team of all time. Sounds an easy task, right? Wrong. Gordon Iggesson agonized for almost 12 hours and still wasn't happy entirely with who he picked. Who would you have gone with? Well, take a listen to who Fabio Capello, who took a little bit of an easier route as he chose among all the players he'd personally managed while at Real Madrid, AC Milan, Juventus, England and Russia, among others. Think Redondo, Buffon, Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos and the like. Well, asked for 11, he got there, sort of, with 14.
Strong test for me to choose the best player that I train. Fabio Capello. More or less, best 11 is 14, but it's the best.
Well, there are certain names in the South African sporting landscape from a commercial and administrative point of view that reel off the tongue. Most sports fans know them as well as they know any of the players. But there are also, in some spheres, those who are one step removed from the spotlight, who often wield far more power and have a bigger, more important say in the direction in which sport across the board is going. One, most likely of the latter category, is Lynn Naude. She's currently on the executive management team of the new Global League T20 competition, which gets underway later this year. But that's just the latest stop in an extraordinary career. Well, I caught up with her in Cape Town and started by asking her what sort of impact this new local but international venture will have on the game in South Africa.
Well, I think that firstly, the one thing we know is that T20 has changed cricket, and I think the leagues are a response to that, and it was our turn to respond to that. And, in order for cricket to develop, in order for us to be the best team in the world, in order for us to sustain some of the transformation programs and development programs and ensure that our pipeline is strong, we need to be able to fund that. And so I think on the one side there's a commercial sustainability in this particular business and this particular investment that Cricket South Africa is making to help to drive the business going forward, both for our elite players but also from a development point of view. The more funding you've got, the healthier your commercials are, the better decisions you can make, and the better you can, I think, set your teams up for success at a senior level, but also again from a development program point of view.
On a personal note, you've obviously come through a very long story kind of career in the sporting framework: golf, cricket, rugby World Cups, any number of cycling as well, mountain biking most recently before this position. How excited are you to be firmly back in the cricketing fold? I
think cricket for me in my career was what shaped me the most. I was working with IMG in around 2001, 2002 when the Cricket World Cup came to South Africa, and at that point I joined the International Cricket Council just before the 2003 World Cup, so probably for a year based in South Africa, and then relocated with them to Monte Carlo to be part of their commercial team for a 4 to 5 year period, in a period of significant growth for them. And so I was part of a small team who just had to learn really fast. And so cricket, I think, in many ways helped me understand what it is that I really love about the sports industry and gave me some real opportunity. And I think, if you fast forward 10, 15 years later, the chance to kind of come back and work in that kind of space again is fantastic, So cricket's got a special kind of place in my heart. I love all sport, I really do, but maybe it's a familiarity for me. And I think an opportunity. I think, to not be involved. I mean, how could I look back and go, you had the chance to be involved and you chose not to be? I don't know how to answer that question.
A lot of people listening will obviously know you and career path that you've taken, but many more won't.
I think for me, the first, the trigger for me to get involved in the sporting industry was actually Jerry Maguire. And I watched Jerry Maguire and I wanted to be Jerry Maguire. I look back 20 years and I'm not Jerry Maguire, but I did manage to dabble a little bit in the sports agents world and decided there's a much bigger world out there. And I think that was fortunate for me that very early in my career, I realized that this industry is much broader than the little bit I'd been exposed to in the one movie. And I've been able to do many things.
I am out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you. It is an up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege that I will never fully tell you about, okay? Just, God, help me. Help me, Rod. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you.
I'm sorry. You are hanging on by a very thin thread. And I dig that about you.
From a South African point of view, in terms of opportunity, I think there are the realities that we're faced with now. I think our economy is in a downturn and all sectors are struggling. It's not only the sports industry that's struggling. And so I think, we're probably, from a sporting industry point of view, for the most part, in a period of consolidation, of maintenance, of just holding everything steady, trying not to go backwards. But I think the T20 Global League and the opportunity of possibly a Rugby World Cup, I think these are two real catalysts for us. And I think that the moment that you get the opportunity for international exposure or international thinking or different thinking to come into our environment, it creates an automatic stimulus for your industry. And I'm not only talking about an economic stimulus, I'm talking about just a way we do things. I think that the fact that we don't have a lot of competition from our neighboring countries means that we run the risk of being insular in the way that we think. Our industry tries to look outside for new opportunity and different ways of doing things, but I think, nothing can teach you nothing can teach you like having something that forces you to think differently. And I think that the T20 Global League, with international owners who are investing privately in sport and in the business, are going to expect much bigger and better things from us. And as an industry, we're going to have to step up to that. And I think if we are fortunate enough to get Rugby World Cup, I think it will do the same thing.
We'll come back to the second part of that interview with Lynn later in the program, where we find out what inspired her to take on the roles that she has. One of our guests at our football-themed breakfast in conjunction with partner Mercedes-Benz was Banyana star Amanda Dlamini. This was the team that she picked as her best 11. Thibaut Courtois in goal, Marcelo, Roberto Carlos, Lucas Hadebe, Elia Schut, Andrea Pirlo, who she also picked as her favorite player of all time, Gift Leremi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Portia Medisa, the Banyana star, Lionel Messi, rather predictably, and then also one Amanda Dlamini. Really nice mix there, and I simply love the fact that she picked herself. Well done, Amanda. Dean Furman's selection still to come towards the end of the episode, and be sure to share yours with us via social media too. In mid-July, a unique experience for the Laureus South Africa team, as in good old surfing parlance, they road trip from East London to Jeffreys Bay, scene the latest stop of the World Surf League. It was in conjunction with the Waves for Change project and provided for the children in East London and Port Elizabeth a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Executive Director of Laureus, Brett Graham, explains how the idea came about.
It's been awesome for us. This has been something we've been kind of discussing internally for the best part of a year with Waves, since they've expanded their sites from Cape Town to East London and now PE. We've had the success of Waves winning from a South African perspective at least, winning the International Sport for Good Award at the Laureus World Sports Awards in Monaco earlier this year. So it's a very cool opportunity for us to showcase to some of the stakeholders now involved the good work that they're doing. They're certainly one of our best practice programs in the country.
The opening day saw coaches receive Rebecca bikes, Corne Krige officially welcomed as an ambassador, and all in conjunction with partner Mercedes-Benz South Africa. Feliciano Janneke, Manager of Corporate Affairs Production.
Mercedes-Benz really prides itself on giving back to the community and just being part of the success story of what Laureus is doing with the different projects. We're really proud to see what's happening with the kids and the kids' involvement in the water, but it's much bigger than that. It's about changing their lives. It's about instilling that discipline, the respect for the water, but at the same time having fun, the camaraderie. We know that the project or the purpose of Waves for Change is to look at kids who come out of underprivileged communities and give them opportunities through sport.
While for a man rapidly becoming accustomed to the camera but whose soul remains firmly rooted in the essence of surf therapy, another significant day for Waves for Change founder Tim Coneybear.
Oh, it's awesome. Seeing the program replicate from Cape Town, you never quite know if it's going to look the same or if the key ethos is going to be replicated here. And you rely on the people to do it, like JD and his coaches, and they've nailed it. It actually probably looks better in East London than it does in Cape Town. So, yeah, massively proud of the guys. They've done amazingly well.
After a glorious morning spent on the beach in East London, everyone packing into the vehicles finally headed off for PE and the next stop. St. George's Beach saw a huge surprise for the kids in the program as some of the world's best surfers travelled up from Jeffreys Bay to spend the morning exchanging ideas and getting out onto the water. A really proud moment for Siyavuya Ntabeni, who heads up the site in Port Elizabeth.
It's a great experience, to be honest. It hasn't been easy to start this type of a project in PE, but I'm happy that it's all working out and it's very exciting, and it's all for the kids. So even if it was hard work, it was all for the kids.
Well, for the local officials, this was a welcome development that will have far-reaching impact. Siyachanga Sijatu.
Well, as a child born in a township, I'm very touched. I still live in a township. So programs such as these that expose young people from disadvantaged areas to new things are great programs. And more especially since they're using surfing as therapy. I think that is the fundamental thing, that sport is being used as therapy. And not many of us are aware that sport can be a form of therapy, and that you are trying to assist these young people to not get stuck in a cycle of violence, a cycle of alcohol abuse, a cycle of drugs, because where we come from, these are common things. They've become the norm. So to have programs that seek to relieve children of those burdens, even if it's for an hour, even if it's for a 2-hour session, but to just relieve a child from all the stress and negativity in their lives, I think it's a wonderful program. I'm very touched, deeply touched by the program.
Awe-inspiring to see some of the world's best strut their stuff, like Adrian Ace Buchan and former pro surfer Rosie Hodge, originally from East London but now living in California. But could we convince chairman of Laureus South Africa, Morne du Plessis, into the water?
Well, do you know what? I just feel like it's such a privilege to be invited to be involved with this. I think I've known about Waves for Change for the last 2-3 years now, but to actually witness it and see the impact that it's having is just really just makes my heart so proud and just happy, because I only get to come back to South Africa once a year. So really just a real privilege to be involved with this and see how it's all going down.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Coming to Africa is always really special. Got a lot of good friends and family here, and that's kind of where my heritage is, family-wise, and it's always a big honour to be here.
Morne, you don't have a wetsuit on. Well, I've seen older guys older than me do this sport. I should have a wetsuit, but I come from the Free State, and we never saw much water there, let alone waves, so I have a good excuse.
Amazing to see some of the top surfers in the world here, Morne.
Yeah,
really
just to look at, Ace Buchan there, and Frank Solomon, these guys, just, you can see these are special individuals, and the way they've just got onto the ground, into the water with these kids, and I don't know if these kids actually realize, what's happening. It's like Brian Bafana arriving unannounced at under 13 rugby practice, just mixing in. This is a good day.
As somebody who is an idol to many, today could be a defining moment in a young person's life here in terms of what their own future holds.
Yeah, we don't start the program to build world champions. The program is to build better people, and I have no doubt that there'll be a lot better people coming out of here. But if a world champion surfer comes out of it, gee whiz,
world champion people.
They're going to be world champion people anyway. But our real criteria, our real effective test is, how many people's lives can change, and how many other people's lives can be changed through the role models that these kids can become.
Hoodies, tuxedos, the para sport has seen Tim Coneybear don it all, except, finally, a wetsuit.
Tim, it's the first time I've met you and actually seen you in a wetsuit.
Yeah, it's not very flattering, is it?
Very briefly, how's the road trip going? How proud are you?
Oh, it's rad. Got, Ace Buchan and Frank Solomon and Rosie Hodge and the guys have come up. And the waves are firing, and I think they're going to probably see the first aerial at this beach they've ever seen. So it's...
from you?
Not from me. They're probably just going to see me wipe out all the time, and I'm tempted not to surf because everyone's going to show me up. But no, it's awesome. Again, like...
have fun up there.
Yeah.
Well, the smiles on the children's faces could not have been bigger, but those from the pros and the World Surf League arguably even broader than theirs. It was the day that everybody learned from. No stranger to the water, what did Ambassador Ryk Neethling make of the experience?
It was really nice to see the program in action. I've known about the Waves for Change program since the Laureus World Sports Awards, and you can see that the kids have a special glint in their eye and kick in their step, like the meditation that they do, the impact that it has, and really proud to be a part of it, and hope to get involved a little bit more.
And to see some of the world's best surfers pulling up from J-Bay here this morning, and I'm not sure all the kids knew exactly who they were, but I suspect by the end of today they're going to know a lot more about them. There's some new role models in their lives as well.
Yeah, these things tend to actually have the biggest effect is the opposite way, where it will have a big effect on those surfers, on the world's best, and I think at the end of the day they'll learn more from this experience. That's why I always feel a little bit guilty leaving, because I feel like I actually gained more just to put my feet back on the ground, and you're humbled and inspired at the same time. So I think those guys will go back to Jeffreys Bay with just a little bit different look on life, and hopefully will improve their surfing in the upcoming competitions.
And a final word then from Brett Graham.
The road trip is really a fun way for us to exhibit not just the work that they're doing, but really how, from a Laureus Foundation perspective, how we work with Waves, how we've been able to work with some of the other stakeholders integral in making Waves come to life in East London and PE, and most notably of those is Mercedes-Benz. None of this would be possible without their investment in the community. So, the team have done our team at the Laureus offices, as well as the Waves team, have done a great job in logistically and everything else involved in getting this up and running. And that really is the evolution of a pretty cool story for these kids who, as you know, some of them haven't been out of East London or PE before. So, very cool story for us.
Cool, thank you.
What a trip that was, an experience without doubt that nobody will ever forget. Well, we heard earlier from Lynn Naude, a prominent figure in the commercial sporting landscape in South Africa, but what of her own personal journey? Who influenced her and what motivates her? I asked Lynn for her take on being seen as a source of inspiration, not just for those wanting to get into the industry, but also, importantly, for young women.
Thank you. I don't think I'm any of those things, but I appreciate what you said. Look, I think I have been very fortunate, and I'm always cautious to say that my career has been influenced by both men and women. My first boss was actually a woman, and I think she set the foundation for how I work, and I think everybody's first boss does that. And I think I was very fortunate that she was such an influence in the way I go about working. But I've also worked hard, and I've also been lucky. So I think a person's got to look at it collectively. I really enjoy the opportunity to talk to younger women in our industry now, and I find that particularly in the last 3 years I've had more younger women speak to me about how does one go about doing what you do in quite a male-dominated environment. And it's not easy. There are definitely times when you walk into a room and you are the only woman there. But there are many other examples in life where people are in the minority too, and that's a reality, you know. So I think that, you know, for me, the narrative is changing around how women are represented within the sporting industry. And I think that what we need to focus on is capitalizing on that momentum. Try not to look back too much. Let's rather look forward at how far we have come. Across our federations, we now have women in executive roles. We have a woman who's the president of New Zealand Cricket. We have a Secretary General who's a woman for FIFA. Those are big things. And I think that we need to focus on the fact that those are starting to happen.
I know you're incredibly busy. When you do have a quiet moment to yourself, how do you reflect back on your career?
I actually do that quite often, particularly in the last 5 years. You know, I find it settling to be able to go, yes, I'm comfortable with that decision that I made, it led there, or I made maybe not the greatest decision there, but without that decision I wouldn't have been here. So I do check back regularly, fairly regularly. I'm almost in a habit of being able to say, I wouldn't have changed that, or I wish I could have changed that, but I didn't, and that resulted in that. Because there is only so much that you can control, you know, in your career. And I think that maybe I'm a little bit older now and a little bit more mature, but I do believe that if I just do what I do the very best that I do it, and I'm super fortunate that I love what I do, I would not be able to say this if I was doing something I didn't enjoy. So I find myself extremely fortunate to be doing what I do and to be working in this industry.
In a sporting framework, a lot of people talk about culture, brotherhood, sisterhoods, I think is a word that you mentioned, but you also hear a lot, I mean, I'm thinking about the Springboks at the moment in terms of something that they're trying to engender as a new team, where there's a lot of talk about just being around good people make good businesses, good teams, etc. Is that something that is core to your own business strategy, your own business values?
I think it's probably core to my internal values, you know. And again, I can promise you, if you'd asked me this question at 20 or 25, I don't think I was tuned into that part of me. You just go. Whereas now I really, you know, the opportunity to work with good people who you know you can trust and who've got your back, and that for me is a real privilege and important to me. You know, I think that to have like-minded people, that sort of personal moral code for me is something that is definitely more important in the last 5 years. And I don't even intentionally mean to look for it, but I find myself saying, that person's not similar to me in how we want to do things, and that makes it a little bit harder. So yes, it is important.
Final one, you get home, there's nobody else at home. You have a choice to watch any sport in the world. Anything is on. What does the TV flick onto?
Wow, that's a difficult question. You know, I don't think people will expect this. I think right now I'd go on to T20 cricket because I want to learn about everything that's happening around the world. So I suppose in the back of my mind I'm wired a little bit for work anyway. But after having worked in the cycling industry for a couple of years, I have a real admiration for the Tour de France. I think the athletes and what they put themselves through over that 3 weeks, as the person sitting on this side, I just think that the kind of athlete and what you put your body and your mind through and your teammates through and the discipline required in the Tour de France is something to be admired. So I look at that race through very different eyes now to what I perhaps did 10 years ago.
Well, we've heard Amanda Dlamini's picks then. We've had Fabio Capello trying to squeeze 14 into 11. And the agony etched on Gordon Eggerson's face as he tried to make his picks will live long in the memory. But for Bafana and SuperSport United star Dean Furman, no such troubles. The man who's been at Chelsea, Rangers, Oldham Athletic and Doncaster Rovers before moving back to the country of his birth was comfortable in naming his best 11 as he is striding out in front of 90,000 fans at Soccer City.
In goal, I've gone for Buffon, incredible goalkeeper and just an unbelievable career.
Attenzione, va sul primo palo, close, il cross un po' più alto nel mucchio, colpo di testa, Buffon! Era saltato a Farenhorst, incredibile, Buffon, straordinario.
Going into the back four, my centre-backs are John Terry and Paolo Maldini. John Terry, well, I was lucky to be at Chelsea and he was the captain there, and he's just an incredible leader, unbelievable defender, had a wonderful career.
Chelsea desperate for this equalising goal. And they make it now, it's a wonderful flick, it's a brilliant goal. John Terry, the captain, the leader, has equalised for Chelsea.
And alongside of Maldini, just a classy centre-back. Oozed confidence, oozed class, just a top defender of his generation.
Free kick which Andrea Pirlo will take, and it's volleyed, and it's in! A goal in 50 seconds from Milan! Oh, would you believe it? Paolo Maldini, the skipper, has scored it! Only once in the history of the European Cup final has there been a first-minute goal. But Jerzy Dudek has been beaten instantly. Paolo Maldini.
My fullbacks were Cafu on the right side. He was an incredible player. He was the first of that kind of modern-day fullback, getting up and down, being more than just a defender.
Parte Totti, pallone respinto dalla barriera, arriva Cafu, bomba di Cafu ed è 1-0 al 17° minuto. Roma in vantaggio con un missile di Marcos Cafu.
At left back, it's Roberto Carlos for me. Again, one of the first modern-day fullbacks, and the power that he had going forward in that Real Madrid and Brazil team was incredible.
Here's Roberto Carlos looking for the bend. Oh my word! What a goal! Kavanaugh was watching it right behind the ball. When he hits it, it's at least a yard wide, at least a yard, maybe more. Unbelievable strike from Roberto Carlos. He doesn't always get them right, but when he does, there's nothing you can do about it. Another fantastic goal from Roberto Carlos.
That free kick against France was one to remember. So that's my back four plus my goalkeeper. Going into midfield, I've got two sitting midfielders. One is Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard's my hero. Again, I was lucky to be at Chelsea with him and watch him train up close, be able to go to matches on a Saturday and watch him play. And to get as many goals as he got from midfield is, I think a lot of strikers would be proud of that. He was just an incredible finisher. He worked so hard in his game to be the best. And I believe he was one of the top midfielders of his generation.
Now Lampard, he's escaped Neville this time. Frank Lampard! Oh! Pick that out! Frank Lampard blasts Chelsea into the lead, and is that the winning goal? He's right-footed, you know, but he smacked that with his left foot, and for the fourth season running, Frank Lampard hits the 20-goal mark for the season, and boy did he hit that one.
Alongside him, Steven Gerrard played against him in the FA Cup, and he was just a step ahead of everyone on the pitch. I'd say 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone. Quick, strong, physical, great goals, great vision.
Reset to Gerrard. Gerrard! Oh, what about that? That was really special from the Liverpool captain. Those are the moments that Liverpool supporters will remember. Steven Gerrard. Oh, you can see what it meant to him. So special.
Top player. I've gone for 3 in front of my midfield 2. I've gone for Zidane through the middle in the number 10 role. Just such an elegant player, can beat you both ways, drop shoulders. I've spoken to my coach Eric Tinkler, who played against him, and he said he was absolutely incredible. You didn't know which way he was going to go, and just a special player.
Hooked into the penalty area towards Zidane. Oh, fantastic! Fantastic!
Either side of him, the 2 best players on the planet currently, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. They're an absolute joy to watch. They're breaking records every week. They're competing against one another, and they just continue to defy logic. So certainly those 2 get in my best 11. Finally up front, the original Ronaldo. What a finisher. Unbelievable. What he could do with the ball at his feet, his quick feet, his step overs, the way he could beat defenders, and just some of the goals he scored.
Through the gap. Is onside, and he's around the keeper. The finish was inevitable, and it's a moment of history for Ronaldo. He's now out on his own as the World Cup's all-time top goal scorer, 15 and counting.
He was a special number 9, and he would definitely lead my team. I'm sure he'd get many goals in that side.
What a side Dean has picked there. You can, of course, send us yours and go head-to-head with him on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. In the next episode, a special as we check in on what went down at the Laureus Summit in Mauritius as projects and ambassadors all come together, and I'm intrigued as to see who wins the amazing race challenge in particular. Thanks for your company, and please be kind. Download, share, rate, and comment on the Power of Sport. You can find us via social media too. Until next time, from me, Jean Smythe, cheers.